Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. This is David Parra. We have a very special show today, and the topic is Phoenix Props 105 and 106. No equals yes. That's a pretty interesting topic. Phoenix Props 105 and 106. No equals yes. We have two special guests today, and we are waiting for Councilwoman Laura Pastor. Hopefully, she'll be here any minute. Before I introduce our guest today, let me remind you basically that this radio show is being Facebook Live. So if you do Facebook, please go to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Find us, like us, follow us, and recommend us. We just left the 1700s, and we are now in the 1800 plus followers, and that is really good. We really would like to be in between, 3,000 to 5,000. So we are working our way to that number because I personally strongly believe that this platform is very instrumental in addressing very, very important topics such as the one today. Let me introduce two of my guests today, and hopefully, Laura Pastor will join us shortly. To my left, I have Betty Cruz, and Betty Cruz, we call her a community advocate. I'm going to ask you to keep always the mic real close. And Betty, I understand that you've been in South Phoenix for pretty much all your life.
Yes, that's true. I was born in 1959. I currently still live there and very proud to live there.
Yeah, Ulises, can you check her volume to make sure that it's fine? So Betty, I'm sure that you've gone through a lot, and even from the very first time that the light rail came to basically to Phoenix, we could say, not necessarily to Arizona, but primarily to Phoenix. And I'm sure you've seen a lot, and we really want to tap into your experience firsthand, and I have some questions. So we're going to talk about this important topic. So again, welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we also have Brandon Blake. Usually you've used to seeing Steve Jennings, my colleague. Today is Brandon Blake. He's here representing AARP. And you also, first of all, Brandon, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so we are just going to be monitoring the sound because it's very important that the sound is good. Let me start by saying, as the song says, let me start by saying, I love you. Remember that song? Yeah. Okay, well, let me start by saying that today the message is very simple. Vote no on 105 to protect light rail. And vote no on 106 to protect libraries, parks, senior centers, and other city services. The message is very simple. Obviously, the details, my wife already completed her ballot, and she and I have been talking about this initiatives, and it is very interesting because sometimes the way the ballots are or propositions are written, they're kind of tricky. But let me repeat. Today the message is very simple. If you're watching on Facebook Live, I believe you are able to see that we have a little message here that says vote no on 105 and 106. And I'm going to ask next why AARP is involved with this in just a second. But let me also say the following. If you look at data, Arizona has exceeded 7 million people now. We have exceeded 7 million. Maricopa County is among the fastest growing counties in the U.S., and Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the nation. I believe when we talk about these two propositions, we cannot lose sight of this data. Would you agree with me?
Very much so.
Yeah. So it is very important to understand that Arizona has exceeded 7 million. Maricopa is among the fastest growing counties in the nation, and Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the nation. So let me just get your initial response to that. Isn't that amazing that Phoenix is the fastest growing city in the nation, Betty?
Well, I can believe it. As I've been working on this project and getting out throughout South Phoenix, I've realized, just by talking, I'm okay? Just by talking to, some of the residents, some of the businesses and so forth, that I realized that our property.
Okay, hold on just a second. That mic is not working out that well. Let's try another one. Yeah, let's see. Okay, try it again. Try that one.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Anyways,
Much better.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What I believe is that, and what I've seen is so much of our property now is being bought up.
Mm-hmm.
We had so much property available, vacant land, so forth. So now we've become the focus for investors, people from out of state, people from California, people from Florida, people from Canada, people from India, people from Pakistan. They're coming
Interesting.
and they're purchasing our property and have purchased our property. So I learned that just by doing the canvassing that I've been doing this past year. I've learned a lot. Just
And what is canvassing for people who might not know?
it is, I go in groups and we take out the literature. This past year we started, I was actually doing some canvassing for Valley Metro, and we were taking out information to inform the business individuals and community people within this right off of South Central, okay, to inform them of future meetings that we're having. And we had architects there. We had everybody that was involved with the light rail. Everybody. We were letting everybody know in our community that you had an option. They had like several meeting places several times. So you had throughout this past year several opportunities to go out, actually meet, ask questions, schedule private sessions. If you're a business owner, you can request and come in, look at the design, talk with the all the builders, so forth, with all of your concerns, learning how it may affect your property. How are people going to be able to get in your business during
So there's been a lot of research done, a lot of conversations about this matter. It's nothing new, right?
Oh no! This
and
has been
besides
going on.
this originally, basically, we already went through this early on. And because we have to take a break right now, but let me ask you, Brendan, AARP, where does AARP come in this? AARP basically endorsed this effort on light rail.
That's correct. So essentially, AARP's interest here is that we believe in what we call livable communities. And livable communities is essentially the idea that you can grow up and grow old in the same community, and things like public transportation help you do that.
Perfect. All right. We have Laura Pastor just joined, but now we have to take a break. So stay with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. The subject today is Phoenix Props 105 and 106. No equals yes. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. The topic today, Phoenix Props 105 and 106. No equals yes. And let me repeat the message today. The message is simple. Vote no on 105 to protect light rail, and vote no on 106 to protect libraries, parks, senior centers, and other city services. We already gave some data. Arizona has exceeded 7 million. Maricopa County is among the fastest growing counties in the nation. In Phoenix, I believe I got this right, is the fastest growing city in the nation. We have with us today Councilwoman Laura Pastor. Councilwoman, welcome. And how about this matter of you being a councilwoman for the fastest growing city in the nation?
Well, thank you for welcoming me. We are the fastest growing city, and because we're fastest growing city, we have to build a multimodal type of form of transportation. And we had started that, and we're continuing to do that. There's a little blip in the bump that now we have Prop 105 and 106. We will succeed, and we will continue to expand and grow our transportation needs.
Okay, hold on just a second. Can you take this off of the holder? And I'm going to ask you to share this mic among the two of you, because this mic is particular, it's not working. I think we capture what you just said, but later on we might have you repeat it, because what you just said is very important. Okay, so we're talking about two propositions, correct? Two propositions, 105 and 106. And I believe all of you are saying that people need to vote no on them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so just kind of back and forth. So
I
yeah,
will
go ahead.
say to all those that are listening, when you get your ballot, or you should have received your ballot, I say no, no, and another no. So always remember no.
Now, let me stay with you, Councilwoman, just for a little bit longer, because you are a councilwoman. You understand. How long have you been with the city of Phoenix? 5 years. So does it surprise you what these propositions are proposing?
It does surprise me, because we voted on the proposition 3 times, 2000, 2004, and 2015. And now here we are again to speak and say we are supportive of light rail, but really of transportation all the way around.
Are you telling me this already happened before?
Yes, it has happened 3 times. Voters have voted 3 times. This will be the 4th time. And in every one of them, it has included improvements of roads. So you're seeing right now roads being improved. It has also included what we call bus rapid transit. Bus rapid transit right now is being looked at as to how do we move faster with buses. And it included safety, public safety. That is happening, public safety on the light rail. It included also bus rapid transit, and it just included the expansion of the light rail.
Right. Thank you. Let me come back to you, Brandon, if you can have the mic. Again, AARP originally endorsed the light rail, and AARP is once again engaged. Can you tell us from the perspective of AARP why the light rail is something that attracted the organization to pretty much endorse it?
Sure. So AARP, like I had mentioned a little bit before the break, is we care about what's called livable communities, being able to grow up and grow old in your community, making our communities safe and equitable for everybody who lives in them, so that way people can get around. Not everybody has a driver's license, can drive, is old enough to drive, or should be driving given their age or any medical conditions. So AARP is a firm believer in making sure that everybody has equal opportunities. So and transportation helps us do that.
Right. Let me come back to you, Betty. And I mean, we already said that you're a native of South Phoenix, and we call you a community advocate. How surprised are you of these efforts? Because if you say that this is like the 3rd time or the 4th,
This will be the 4th.
this would be the 4th attempt to somehow.
It will be the 4th. It will be the 4th of saying yes, we want light rail.
Right. Okay. So basically, they keep asking the same questions with the
in a different way.
In a different way. So are you surprised that these efforts have keep returning, keep coming back?
Well, yes, because I remember specifically having a conversation with our Congressman Ed Pastor 9 years ago. He was letting us know about this, the project, and he was very, very, very excited about it. His intentions were basically to help our seniors. And the majority from South Central, from Central to 2nd Avenue or Central to 2nd Street, those are the older neighborhoods that were built like in the late 40s, early 50s. So the majority of them are lived in by seniors. So his intentions, I believe, were to help accommodate those. Also the people that either one can't afford a car or can't afford a second car or can't afford the insurance, or they are elderly and they need transportation other than the bus, maybe to get to the grocery store, go to the doctors. Those to me were what I came out of that conversation with, were his intentions, is just to help us.
Right.
And what has happened now, since I've been involved with this project for a year, I really find it very disheartening because people have taken it out of context, created rhetoric to bring fear, I think, among a lot of our residents. Confusion.
Right.
Even the ballot, everything is confusing. They've sent out a flyer. There's a flyer out there, even with our former senator, Catherine Miranda, endorsing the yes. And I'm like, wait a minute, Rebecca Rios is our senator. But this is their strategy. They are confusing everybody. Everybody at this point, they just like, no is yes. And I'm like, well, yeah. So I've been out this past year working on this project.
Let me say something that in the past, say 5 years ago, when I had a company over from California, I never thought, not even for a second, to bring them to downtown Phoenix. And since then, I have a PowerPoint that I prepared to kind of lead the conversation. And I have a point that says, is the resurrection of downtown Phoenix related to the light rail? Because it's an unbelievable difference when you go to downtown Phoenix today and you are a councilwoman of this city, Council Laura Pastor. What has happened to downtown Phoenix is an amazing... It's a totally new...
a new Phoenix.
A new
Phoenix is rising.
So are you saying that this
risen.
investment related to light rail has anything to do with it?
Oh, this investment in light rail is definitely connected to the revitalization of not only downtown, but of Central all the way up to Camelback. And then you look at the light rail going west, and it's revitalized those areas. You are going to see... in particular where the new extension went on 19th Avenue, you're going to start to see a lot of revitalization happening and infrastructure and more multi-family housing going in that area. You're seeing it on Camelback. The whole intent about it moving it to South Mountain, South Phoenix, most of us are South Phoenix natives, was because the most ridership is in that area of people taking 1, 2, or 3 buses just to connect to their job or to go to school or get to their doctor's appointment. The light rail is really about connectivity and access and equitable all across. So that is why there's a huge investment happening in that area.
Right.
Because we know the ridership is there. We also know that we want South Phoenix to be the same as North Phoenix, North Central, and create the vibrancy that is there to bring people for economic development into South Phoenix and expose them to all the culture that is within that area. We also, South Mountain is the #1 destination to go to in Phoenix and to go and hike. That will connect people to there. So now you're talking about multi-generations of sectors, but in particular, of the AARP members being able to get on a light rail, and if they want to go hike, be able to go over there, connect with the connector, and get to the mountain and do their exercise and come back.
Amazing, amazing.
So
Yeah, would you like to add anything to that, Brendan?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, for those of you who remember the Red Line bus, which essentially went along the same corridor as the light rail is now, carried about 2 million people a year. The light rail along the same corridor is carrying about 16 million people a year. So, I mean, just having the high capacity transit there in the form of the light rail has made it so that way so many more people can be moved throughout that one area.
Got it. Now, let me come back to you, Betty, because, again, you are a native of South Phoenix. The concerns, I'm sure you have heard the concerns.
Yes.
As a native of Phoenix, how do you take those concerns and kind of evaluate them in light of the progress that the light rail could bring to South Phoenix?
Well, having been I'm still currently a canvasser, but what I've tried to do is re-educate people, let them know, because they are basically believing the rhetoric, that the confusion. So I basically try to let them know what the intention is, meaning this project is still focused on respecting the integrity of South Central. People are very concerned that this project will take away the value of it, and that is far from it. Far from it. Again, people are just right now being so misinformed, and I honestly believe that those are the true intentions. You know.
Right.
That's,
So, could you envision the progress, the development that we have seen in downtown Phoenix? Because that is, I mean, I just received some family from Chihuahua who came to visit. And the first thing I thought is, oh, let's take them to downtown Phoenix.
well,
In the past, I would have never thought to come to downtown Phoenix because it was more like a business, nothing. There was nothing. And now it is unbelievable.
you know, it's interesting because, for example, my daughter, she works downtown at Chase Tower. She lives right off of Baseline. She's the first example. Now, instead of paying at the garages across from her business, she can do the park and ride right there close to South Central and Baseline. She can take the light rail, boom, it takes her right in front of her job. So many people I've talked to when I've been out canvassing, they work in downtown. And, we have the ability now to get on board, go to the Diamondbacks game, save a couple of bucks, not having to pay parking close to the stadium. We could go to the arena. We could go when they have ice skating. We can go downtown. I mean, there's just so much that we can do having this. It is truly just a blessing for us.
Good.
So it's very confusing for me to find out that we're even at this point now. Why people of South Phoenix are just...
And I understand that there could be money from out of state kind of pushing these propositions.
Well, what I know from my personal experience is having been dealing with the business corridor this past year, my focus was on meeting with the individuals, the owners, or whoever is in charge of a business. That is when I found out personally that the majority of the businesses from the river bottom to Baseline, I'd say almost close to 80%, are owned by out-of-state developers. And the local business people are renters. So what I found out is that a lot of these people that used to be on a yearly lease are pretty much almost month to month. And if you really take the time to go from, example, maybe the river bottom to Baseline, you're going to notice all the vacant buildings now. There's a lot of vacancies. A lot of the plazas now are, the regular customers, they're leaving. So that's very concerning because that was never the intention. We are not trying to sabotage anybody. It is to help us. But again, when that land is owned by somebody else, they're listening to the landlord.
Thank you. We're going to have to take a second break. Stay with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. The subject today is Phoenix Props 105 and 106. No equals yes. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. I'm your host, David Parra, and we have Betty Cruz, Councilwoman Laura Pastor, and Brandon Blake, representative of AARP. Let me come back to you, Councilwoman Laura Pastor. You know, I am sure, I'm just having known your dad, and I know that you understand that you have listened to what the concerns are from the South Phoenix folks. Are you able to let them know that they'll be fine, that they will be fine, that there's not going to be anything that they are fearing? First, kind of address what you have heard of the concerns are, and that nothing like that is going to happen.
So I have to say that I would, along with Councilman Nowakowski, we're hearing the concerns that were coming in front of us. Him and I decided that we were going to slow down the process so that we could have community meetings and hear about the 4 lanes versus 2 lanes. We did that.
Just give a little bit more detail. So that's what the light rail is going to do, pretty much.
What the light rail will do, it'll go down to 2 lanes on Central. The community was asking, why can't we have 4 lanes? So we did pretty much, I believe 6 months of community process as to saying, okay, this is what it looks like with 4 lanes. This is what it looks like with 2 lanes. This is how these pieces go. So we heard the concerns, but really the concerns that are happening, and it's growth pains. When the light rail will go down, I will not deny there will be some growth pains. There will be some areas that the construction is happening, getting in and out of businesses is a concern. But the city built a business community grant fund to help the businesses. So there's a fund to help the businesses get to survive during this process. What hasn't been told to the businesses is that, as Betty was saying, it's the landowners that determine what they're going to do with their property.
I see.
And so the fear really is with the renters who are renting, because they don't know what the landowners are going to do with their property. And the landowners have property rights, and they have the ability to sell it. What I also have to say is that we heard loud and clear that we needed affordability down light rail. And we are looking at it and looking to see where we can partner up with nonprofits to make sure there's affordability and senior living or senior housing for those that are in the neighborhood. So there's a number of things that we have heard that we have now put into play.
Got it. And let me come back to you, Brandon. Okay, let's kind of wrap it up. in terms, because we also have to invest some time to talk about Proposition 106. We have focused so far on Proposition 105. I read the ballot this morning. My wife already voted, and it pretty much says no more light rail in a nutshell. If people say yes to this to Proposition 105, it's basically stop. But give us more details, Brendan Blake, on this matter of if it passes, what would be at stake?
So if 105 passes, a yes vote on 105 does mean no more light rail. What it does is it amends the city constitution, the city charter, to say that we cannot spend any dollars from any source, including county, state, federal funds, on any kind of fixed rail project here in the city of Phoenix. So that means we will not expand light rail to South Phoenix, out to Westgate and Glendale, or anywhere else, including, this also includes commuter rail. There's plans and options for working on commuter rail, including a fixed rail line between Phoenix and Tucson.
Yeah.
None of those things would happen. Additionally, when it comes to 105, it would be extremely difficult to continue to work on one gray area in the language is that whether or not we'll be able to replace track or replace cars. It's a gray area. It's not determined whether or not that would have to be fought out in court battles, but we're not sure if we'd be able to even replace the cars on the line. So in worst case scenario, in 15, 20 years, we could end up having just tracks along the road without cars that can run on them. And that includes our neighbors of Mesa and Tempe, because they're not going to subsidize for Phoenix to have light rail on their own. This is a regional transportation plan to help make it help connectivity throughout the region. So
Right.
It's really difficult to predict.
Anything that any one of you want to add
I
on
just
that?
want to say that it's not just the expansion of South Phoenix. It's also the expansion to the capital. There's an expansion plan to have light rail go to the capital, to bring visitors and members into the city and downtown, to bring more economic development. Also, there's a connectivity to Metro Center and to connect the 19th Avenue to Metro Center, which then brings our west side, our upper northwest side, into the city, into downtown, or to South Phoenix, however way they want to take the rail, or connect to Mesa. If they want to go to Mesa, they can connect. Tempe, as stated earlier, it is a regional transportation system. We are the hub. We are in the heart of it. And if we cannot maintain those tracks, we will not be moving people back and forth.
So the repercussions are way bigger and beyond Phoenix, from what I can understand now.
It's a global, regional.
It's a regional.
Mesa, Tempe, West Phoenix, 19th Avenue, Capitol, all of it.
And when I read the Proposition 105, I was kind of like surprised of the proposition goes straight forward, like no more, stop it, that's it.
So one other thing, and this
that was pretty interesting when I read it.
Yeah, well, I'll say that it speaks though to the intent of the proposition writers, those who wrote the proposition, because in the language specifically, it excludes SkyTram for the Sky Harbor Airport, which means that whoever wrote it knew what they were doing. They knew that is something that is going to be beneficial, but they excluded all other forms of rail, meaning that they were very intentional about how they wanted to take down light rail, commuter rail, and any other fixed rail projects.
Betty, your take, of what's at stake?
Well, again, I'm very disheartened by what's happened so far. I know some of these businesses, people very personally. I've worked at a lot of these places, and I'm very concerned. And what bothers me is that if we're allowing people, whether or not it is a business, it could have been that way back there it was family owned, okay? Things have changed. So, but we have people that don't even live in South Phoenix that are determining our future. Now that really bothers me because people are led to believe that these businesses are really, really going to suffer when we do know that there is compensation. They've been working on programs this whole past year to work with everybody. The vision was never to sabotage anybody. We just want to be able to develop, beautify the area, expand out, and help everybody. And again, to allow these businesses to determine our future is truly it's an injustice, and it takes us back. It's like we're regressing to way back when we were discriminated against. South Phoenix is always, and it's happening now. We're being dictated.
Amazing.
That's my opinion.
Of course. Yeah. Well, it's very worth it because you live. You are a South Phoenix.
And I see it. I see
Amazing.
it.
Yeah, thank you.
So what if light rail does not does not pass? What will happen is those federal dollars will go on to another city, and as the future grows, say 10 years from now, we will have the opportunity, but we will be competing with other cities that all have rail, or other new cities that have rail, and will compete for that money. Right now, we have been allocated the money. We have been allocated to move forward, and that will happen. And it's a detriment. I also feel like South Phoenix has always been a family, community-driven area, and it still is, and it still will be. What will happen is the vibrancy in our culture will be demonstrated throughout baseline all the way down to the river bottom. The whole river bottom, the concept of the river bottom and changing where Rio Salado is, the vision of my dad was to change the river bottom and make it vibrant and make it natural, and so to attract tourism and attract people that then would want to be curious and continue on to South Phoenix, along with the light rail. And as you go down the light rail, you see the culture, you see a whole new vibrant area, you see mixed use of people in and out, and businesses. So
amazing.
That's the intent.
Go ahead. Of course.
Okay. I have a question for you, Laura, and this concerns me. Having worked in this project, my concern is the ballot, the Proposition 105. Now, if it were not to succeed and pass, the federal dollars, I believe, to my understanding, would be going to either Denver or LA. Okay, my concern is on the ballot, it talks about the city fund, and it says in the ballot that the remaining dollars would exclusively go to South Phoenix. Now, that's incorrect, and I read it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is not right. Because I was led to believe that the city fund money, the leftover, not the federal money, we're going to lose that. That money would go to all the districts. So say if Maryville needed improvement and they're like, okay, I'm putting in a request, I need $50,000. So say if hypothetically we had $400,000 left, they put in a request, they would get it. Any district, not just South Phoenix. So to my understanding, my conversations with a lot of people they are being led to believe that even if the federal dollars go, the city money would stay within South Phoenix. Now, that's incorrect to my knowledge.
So can you give a brief explanation, because we have to go on our last break.
What it states is redirect the city's share of existing funding for the South Central Light Rail extension exclusively to other transportation infrastructure improvement projects located in South Phoenix. I'm not really sure where that money, if that money will be allocated and how it would go being allocated and how much.
But again, that money would be the local money.
It will be the
federal
local
money. It's gone.
The federal money is gone. But in the local money, I believe that we can't determine really how much money will be allocated to South Phoenix.
Thank you. Let's take our last break. The message is simple. Vote no on Proposition 105 so that the light rail projects can go on. Stay with us. We're going to take our last break. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back. Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Now we're going to move forward to Proposition 106. When I read Proposition 106, I got the impression that there's an issue with the pension system for the city of Phoenix, and that they don't like the payment plan, and they wanted to the city to pay way more money at the expense of cutting whatever needs to be cut other than safety services. Did I get it right? What's really going on with this proposition, Brandon Blake?
So I'll go ahead and just add to that essentially, well, it's framed as a pension issue, and I'll let the councilwoman talk a little bit more about this. Essentially, yes, all but I think 3 departments their funding would get redirected to pensions for first responders. But like I said, it's just simply framed that way. We're talking about losing hours and days at the library. We're talking about lack of upkeep for parks, no more programs for senior centers in particular, homelessness aid. After school programs, there is a litany of programs that would receive drastic cuts, that they would be struggling to survive after this. And these are the types of programs and things that help make our communities livable for everybody, help make our communities what communities are made of.
Can you take a minute or two, Brandon, to talk a little bit about the AARP efforts on this livable communities business? I've been hearing you already mention it like 5 times. Give us a little bit more. How important is that? A big agenda item for AARP, the livable communities?
It is, yeah. So livable communities is essentially, like I said, it's this idea that you can grow up and grow old in your community. And what it encompasses is transportation, affordable housing, economic development, open spaces and public land like parks or common centers or squares, things like that. So it's all about these things that we kind of put together that make our communities unique, that make our communities walkable, livable, and I think that we would lose a lot of that if people voted yes on 106.
So you mentioned transportation in this concept of AARP's interest in livable communities, transportation and housing. Is that the original? Is that what originally led AARP to be interested in this matters of transportation with the city of Phoenix?
Yeah. It definitely is. I think that across the organization, we've taken a bigger interest in livable communities because things like transportation are equated with your health. If you don't have access to transportation, then you don't get to doctor's appointments. Or if you're socially isolated, you can have things like anxiety, depression, worsened heart conditions, things like that. So things like transportation, like having public spaces, like having affordable housing are actually beneficial for your health.
I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't remember, that's fine. But AARP just celebrated 60th anniversary, and I believe they did some 60 projects, if I'm not mistaken, in different areas. And did something happen in Tucson at a park? What can you tell us just a little bit about that as an example of how AARP is very, very much engaged with livable communities?
Well, so I'll say that every year we do what's called the Community Challenge Grant, where we fund livable communities projects throughout the state, and we try to focus on things that are lasting impact. So I believe last year we funded something called Keep Phoenix Beautiful. Mm-hmm. It was a revitalization project. And everybody who hears about it can submit an application. And this year we funded something in Tucson. So yes, we focus on this.
Thank you very much for connecting the dots, because now I can definitely see how strong of a link AARP has with these issues of livable communities. And now we're talking about transportation and the services. Congresswoman Laura Sorry, I said Congress. I've been saying Congress. Well, maybe that's the prophecy. Councilwoman Laura Pastor. So how about those services? Are they in jeopardy? Are they in danger?
They are in jeopardy.
Proposition 106 it passes?
Yes, they are in jeopardy. Before I head there, a livable community is connectivity. Mm-hmm. It's vibrancy. It's living. So a livable community is that you connect to your social places, to your restaurants. You're able to walk under shaded trees. You're able to connect to on a transportation line and get to your appointments. You're able to go to home and there's affordable housing. All of that is livable all across the board, and you need these elements in order to connect. And that is what AARP is doing. As you said, yes, it will. What it does is it imposes a cap on the budget for any growth. So any growth, when we hear at budget hearings that we need more library hours, more extensions, that will be gone. When you hear, I would like to see these activities at the senior centers, that'll be gone. It puts a cap, and what it basically does is we have to pay 90% of the pension. We, as conscientious council people, looked at that, and our payment plan was 30 years, and we moved it and we accelerated it to 25, and we also stated if there's anything over, we will add more to the pension fund. We are doing everything we possibly can to continue to make sure our pension is viable and our liability is paid for.
Let me ask a question about pension. I have a pension with the AARP, and if it was in jeopardy, I wouldn't feel good. So let me ask you, so there is a debt in the pensions of City of Phoenix employees.
Yes.
Does that mean that somebody will not get their benefits, or it's just not at the level that it's supposed to be? What is it?
They will get their benefit. It is not at the level that we're not. It's not at the level that it's supposed to be, and we are accelerating the level in order for it to get there.
So as people retire, they will get a percentage, a reduced pension because of the levels?
No, they will not get a reduced pension. They will receive the pension that they will get. We will honor their pension.
So it's just about the funding
it's about the
level.
Funding level, and it's about paying it.
Okay, you wanted to add something, Brenda? Go ahead.
And what I have to say to that is how they masked this is that basically saying the public safety needed their pension, and what I have to say is our public safety, our Phoenix firefighters and plea have come out against 106. And it's not about the firefighters, and it's not about our police officers. They are receiving their pension.
Got it.
I would just add that we kind of alluded to it, but this is framed as a pension issue. You're supposed to think about it as a voter. You're supposed to think about it as a pension issue, but it's really not. It's just simply a cap on our city spending, which I understand how a lot of people might think that, we don't want to spend any more money than we have to. But it also, if we were ever to go into a recession and cuts had to be made, those cuts would become a new cap that we wouldn't be able to exceed. And since we are the fastest growing city in the nation, the fastest growing county in the nation, we wouldn't be able to keep up with the needs of our growing community.
Brendan, but so basically what I read, you're basically saying that it's deeper than what it's in the proposition, because the proposition makes it all about the pension. So you're saying that it's more of a cap?
That's correct.
A spending
It's
cap?
a spending cap
which
on the
will
budget.
tie up
So
the hands of the city to...
tie our hands. And on top of that, what will happen is that this includes hiring new police officers, new firefighters, any of our public safety. This includes any new, anything that we need, anything that we need for the library. It also affects transportation. Which is very clever on how they've written this, and the two props are together because it does affect transportation. So if we need more money to go into transportation to fix our roads, we are tied, and we have to pay this pension. We are paying the pension. The other piece is what's really tricky about the language is we have to balance our budget. It is mandated by law that we balance our budget every year, and we balance our budget every year.
Now, in the proposition, they use the word charter. What is that?
That is our charter. That's what we
The
go
budget?
by. No. We have rules in our charter, and it tells us what we have to do. It's the state law that says that we have to balance our budget.
Okay.
It's a city constitution, yeah.
Right. Okay, anything else that you want to add in Prop 106? I know the simple message is no on 105 if you want the light rail to go on, and no on 106 if you want the city to have more latitude to keep growing, to keep investing, and they're still taking care of the pension. It's just at what I'm reading at a comfortable level that doesn't tie up your hands.
Right. So I'll give you an example. Our general fund, that's where we get our funding. and 70% of our general fund, well, we're a little bit higher, goes to public safety. And then the rest goes to services. And this year, we had some additional dollars, and we looked at our additional dollars, and we said we're going to give this percentage to our employees and then this percentage of amount to our services. We will have to then, we can't, next year, if this passes, we would not be able to do that. We would have to say, this percentage of surplus that we have now has to go all the way to the pension. So then there will be no new services, or we couldn't add onto services. For example, extending library hours, senior centers, anything like that.
Right. It's pretty crazy. I think that the concept of what one reads, and honestly, to me, it's almost like a no-brainer, you know. It's a no-brainer. Let me just, we have less than a minute. Betty, just your final thoughts in 10 seconds. I mean, what would you say to the public, in 10, 15 seconds?
Please, please vote no. Again, there is a lot of confusion, and that should be a red flag. If we were on the level, there would be no confusion on the ballot. There would be no confusion in the wording. Vote no. Our future, City of Phoenix future, it depends on it.
And we'll end up on that note. Thank you. No, go ahead, real quick.
So I'm saying no, no, no. What I also have to say, to put it in plain terms, with Proposition 106, think of it as a mortgage or a car payment, and you have to pay 90% to purchase a house.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you. Now I have to call you Councilwoman Laura, Brandon Blake, Betty. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining. This is all the time we have for now. See you next time. Have a great day.